Hello and welcome to Indie Incursion, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you know and want to love. Nope, that's love and want to know. I don't even know what I was going to say there, to be honest. Yeah, it just kind of went off the rails there. This week we're bringing you 3 awesome indie games news stories, but before we get to any of that, I need to introduce myself. I am one of your hosts, Von Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the Big Josh Boy, and today we actually have a guest on the podcast. We have JJ from the Coalition. You are also kind of like an independent games journalist, from what I understand.
Yeah, pretty much. A content creator, streamer, podcaster, games journalist, just overall lover of video games in general, So I do a lot of different things.
Yeah, it sounds like you basically do everything.
I'm
a little bit jealous of you.
Well,
so you guys had a good... Yeah, he's doing a lot. You guys play some awesome games today? How about let's start off with JJ. You play some awesome games this week? Any fun indies or just games in general? A lot of people think they only get to talk about indies.
So I play a ridiculous amount. Let me put it that way. Like just throughout my week, I play so many games. Like as far as indie games, one of the biggest ones that I've been playing that I know a lot of people have been talking about is Gato Roboto on Nintendo Switch and PC. I've been playing it on Nintendo Switch. I did a review for it for the Coalition not too long ago. I enjoyed it. I scored it around the 70s. Because, again, there's a charm to a cat controlling a mech. There's just something funny about that. And then the fact that it plays very similar to Super Metroid, and it's got a little bit of Mega Man introduced into it, that's pretty cool. And, again, the game is just fun, so it's got an appeal for everybody. But besides that, I've been messing around with a couple other games here and there, especially on both my Nintendo Switch with, like, Smash Brothers and stuff. I've been playing a couple other games that are on my PlayStation 4 that I can't talk about just yet because I'm under embargo. But there's a couple different ones that I've been enjoying that you guys will probably be hearing about very, very soon.
What's your Smash main?
Oh man, there's a couple. Like nobody just has one Smash main. There's at least like 3 or 4. At least if you've been playing for a while. So for me, I usually default now to Fox. If we're just going straight up Nintendo characters. I've been playing a lot with Simon Belmont because I love Castlevania. That's just one of my favorite series. Cloud is also, and I've also been messing around with Mario.
Wow. Yeah, no one that I even remotely touch.
Yeah, Josh just plays Rob and just spams that, like shooting across the stage, or he plays Duck Hunt and just hits you with frisbees. Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Frisbee them off the stage.
You really remember my characters, or are you just guessing like wildly?
That's just a straight up guess. You
really?
seem like one of those people.
Because I do.
Oh my god.
I'm a Rob, a King K. Rool, Mega Man, and Duck Hunt main.
Mega Man is tough to play.
He's so fun though. Once you start getting like the hang of him, he can do a lot. But I just love Duck Hunt, especially since I play with like my buddies, and it's like usually like 4 or more of us. Duck Hunt is great because he's like the ultimate troll pick. Him and like Pac-Man are pretty troll. You just run from one side and just shoot the disc and just keep being annoying while other people are fighting. It's great.
The biggest troll pick is Kirby. That is just hands down. There's just so much. That and King DDD.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of this? This is a legitimate strategy that Smash Bros. Players use. Have you ever heard of what's called a Kirby side?
Oh, is that the thing where they suck them up and try to go below the stage and then...
Yeah, they jump off the
so
stage
annoying.
and then... Yeah, they shoot them out and then jump so that they like go above the stage and their foe falls to their death.
Yep.
That's an amazing strategy
It's the pro strats.
right there.
Pro
Yeah.
strats.
That's a noob killer.
I mean, I would say I have too much honor for that, but in reality, I'm just not skilled enough to pull off a Kirby side.
I mean, and that's a pretty no, I think that's a pretty easy one. You got so many ups to get you right back to the ledge. You just have to just fall down and let them die.
Dude, I play as Ike and I just kill myself all the time.
You can
constantly.
Yeah, well.
Like his up B, he throws his sword up and you're like, sweet, I'm saved. And then you barely miss the stage and he bombs down. He just murders you every time.
For the record, there's just way too many Fire Emblem characters in that game. They just keep showing up.
Oh, for sure. I'm so tired of them. And I enjoy Fire Emblem every once in a while. I'm not like a big fan, but when it first started coming out, I didn't really know much about the series, and I was like, who are all these random humans? What are they doing in here?
How many Fire Emblem characters do you think they'll announce during the Nintendo Direct?
If there's,
one
Fire Emblem
that's
character
all.
announced,
That's
I'm
all
gonna
the DLC
flip
pack
a
is.
table at E3. Like I'm telling you, like I'm just gonna go up to Sakurai and be like, "Yo, listen, we're gonna have a talk for a second. Let me take you over here to the corner. Get these Fire Emblem characters out my game."
He's like, but we got 3 houses coming out soon, dude. We gotta pop these guys in Smash.
They're gonna have one character from each of the house, and then they're gonna have the headmaster as the next 4 characters that come for Smash.
I'm just saying, it's a little ridiculous at this point.
Who knows?
What have you been playing this week, Josh?
So actually, I've been playing a little bit of the same. I did a review for Gato Roboto. It's not up yet because I'm doing a video review for it right now and trying to get everything finalized. But I gave it around the same score. I went a little bit higher, which by the time this comes out, it'll be okay to say. But I basically gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought for the most part the same things. My main thing about it wasn't really that it was short. Like I loved the amount that was there because it gave you that taste for like more. But my main thing was like, there's nothing from it that like stands apart from the Metroidvania genre. Like in general, it showcases a lot of the great assets to why a Metroidvania can be so fun. But at the same time, it doesn't break the mold. It's not going to change your mind about anything. It's just a really fun and great game. So that's kind of why I'm about the same, which I think for you, Vaughn, you were a little bit higher than us.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I rated it the highest out of the 3 of us.
Yeah, which is generally around the area that it's getting. I think from like a Metacritic perspective, it's in like the high 7s, low 8s, or something like that. So I think
bad.
it makes sense. Yeah, exactly. But and then I've also started dabbling into Crossing Souls. So this is a game that came out like a long time ago, but
2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, but I recently just jumped into it because I was like, oh, I have it for free because of the Twitch Prime deals where they give out like a couple of games every month, and I've had it just in my backlog, and I was sitting there and I was like, well, I don't really have anything to play. I'll just jump into it and see how it is. And it's actually a lot of fun. It's like a very, kind of 80s. It reminds me a lot of like the Stranger Things or like 80s morning cartoon, just because of the obvious cutscenes in it. But it plays pretty interestingly. I think the one main caveat that I'm having right now is like, it's obviously meant to be played on a controller, and my controller that hooks up to my PC is broken right now, so I'm trying to play it on the keyboard, and it's like all of the keys are in just terrible placement. So it's really annoying right now to have to do some of the precision things in the game. But otherwise, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it has an interesting story of like this weird, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but some evil being who is trying to take over the world and basically create kind of like a Thanos, like destroy all humans thing by having ghosts raise up and create this eternal one-day war. And it's you as a bunch of kids who have to stop it. So it's very like non-realistic in that way, but very 80s cartoon style of like, gotta save the day, it's us kids. But I like the cutscenes to it of having that cartoon-esque appeal, and the gameplay is fun when it's not the annoying parts of precision for my keyboard, but that's really on me, not the game itself. So, but it's pretty good. I recommend it.
Cool.
Do you like those little mini games that it randomly just puts you in, like when you're running away from the cops and you have to just dodge?
Yeah, those are some of my favorites. The one where you had to go. Yeah, are you kidding me?
That was such a pain in the ass for me.
Oh no, those were easy, but they were just like, they're a nice palate cleanser because it makes it just not the same like beat 'em up brawler. Like, I don't as much enjoy that. I'd rather have some of like the weird puzzle angles and then thrown in every once in a while. I didn't like how like one of the bosses, because I'm only 4 chapters in, so it's relatively early into the game, but I didn't like how one of the bosses was like a Simon Says game. I thought that was retarded, but like other than that, like it's still really fun. Like, I mean, they're just trying to blend a bunch of different things in there that I thought worked out well.
Yeah, I didn't get very far in Crossing Souls. I really liked it, and I liked the aesthetic a lot. I thought it looked really, really cool, and of course, yeah, it definitely, like, it's meant to look and feel exactly like 80s cartoons. It even, like, references an odd amount of 80s like memorabilia and stuff. It's a little weird, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I especially liked playing as the girl who has like the jump rope as a whip and just like whipping the shit out of people.
Just whipping them.
Yeah, each one of the characters has their own like weapons. So there's like the nerd boy who has like a gun basically that he crafted. The main character who has a bat. Their friend who's kind of like your shieldy like tanky character who has I think the lid of a trash can.
What?
And then there's like this girl that's kind of like a love interest in a way that she just beats the shit out of people with like her whip that is a jump rope. And then they have like the little brother who anytime that you try to attack he just picks his nose and it's this excessively long booger.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He doesn't do any damage. he cycles through picking his nose, blowing a balloon and like popping it and farting. Like that's his attack sequence. That's all he does.
Yeah, I think he's really good for solving some puzzles at certain points in times, especially because of I'm not going to ruin anything because of things he can do later on, but yeah, it's a really fun game. I really enjoyed it when I played it. You're definitely further than I am though. I didn't get that far because I'm bad at video games and Josh is really good at video games. Everybody who listens to this knows that by now. So. And now JJ knows. He knows that Josh is MLB, dude.
I know everything.
For me, what I've been playing this week is not very much. Yeah, you guys were definitely on track. I played some World of Warcraft. Yeah, got back into
super indie.
Yeah, I know, right? Probably the biggest independent company there is. I mean, it just makes sense, really. It's kind of like that independent game I played on the first episode, that Skyrim game. I mean,
yeah. Good game.
It's so indie and obscure. I can't believe anybody would have heard about it.
How long have you been playing World of Warcraft?
I played off and on for like 4 or 5 years. I generally don't get very far because I have this obsession with deleting and creating new characters. I just consistently do it. It's kind of an issue.
What keeps bringing you back though?
Honestly, I'm looking for a great MMO that I can play by myself, which is really just doesn't make any sense.
Why don't you like people? I don't understand.
Aren't you supposed to play MMOs with people though? Like technically?
Yeah, that's like the whole point of MMOs. No, I'm kind of weird in that way. I feel like the Sword Art Online anime rubbed off a little bit too much on me that I take pride in being a solo player, which is a little odd because the things I enjoy so much in MMOs are actually the things you have to do with people. Like in World of Warcraft, dungeons are my favorite thing, and you do them with like 4 other people. So it's just a little weird, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know why I like to play by myself. It's odd.
All right.
With the just crazy times that I do like to play with other people, and then I reach out to the big Josh boy, and he shuts me down. He just won't play video games with me, dude.
It's okay. We'll play that one Kickstarter game.
Eventually. I mean, there's one today, dude, that I'm feeling that we're going to have to play together. And JJ, he's a cool guy. He's going to become one of my best friends. He's going to have to play with me, too.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be sweet.
We're going to win by default.
Serious,
Tell
real
him.
quick.
Tell him.
But that is for later in the podcast. Right now, we got to get into the news, the meat and potatoes of these episodes. Our first, what was I going to say? I can't believe I always forget exactly what I'm going to say just mid-sentence.
You got to
really
keep
annoying.
Little sticky notes right next to your computer.
Yeah, I really need to. Our first article is over on IGN. It is written by Tom Marks, and it is Candace of Hyrule release set for June. The hilariously long-named Candace of Hyrule Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring The Legend of Zelda will be coming out sometime this June, according to a new trailer, though we still don't have an exact date. It says later on in the article that he is speculating. It says it's possible the lack of hard date could mean that Nintendo is saving it as an available right now announcement for its Nintendo E3 showcase, but that's pure speculation. And he says they do pepper it in often. Like last year, they did Fortnite and Hollow Knight as well. How much do you guys want to bet that this is definitely just going to be like shadow dropped at E3?
Oh, 100%. Like I could totally see something like that. Like I originally thought from what somebody had told me that it was coming out towards the end of June. at some point, or at least, sometime this summer. But I could totally see that like being something that they drop at the end of the direct.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense from a marketing perspective, especially since this isn't really like Nintendo based as far as them strictly publishing it. So I think it would make sense for them to jump into the bandwagon of being able to be on the Nintendo stage from the developers of Cadence of Hyrule. This will probably be the most publicity that they can get for it. So everything kind of makes sense for it, I think. If it's not going to shadow drop, I think that it would be announced that it's going to come out by the end of the month.
I also think that it'll also be shown on the Nintendo Treehouse presentation on the stage during E3. Like, that's a game I feel like they could show that and talk about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because that would be so cool if they were actually playing with, like, one of the DDR pads and having you do it as well.
That'd be kind of random and kind of cool. But my point is, because it's Zelda and because obviously, that's like a big thing with a lot of people. And this game specifically has gotten a lot of attention, especially from that direct when they first showed it. I think that'll be one of those games that'll be ideal for them to show like as part of their E3 quote unquote lineup.
Yeah, I just think that it would make sense because with the original one, that was like their whole big pitch was like, oh, you can actually play this with a DDR pad. You can actually, play a music rhythm game, even though it's not just the generic, just notes. And with this, I feel like they would want to do something very similar. I don't know, just because from the teaser trailer, there were a lot of little options that you were doing in the game as far as changing weapons and things like that. So I don't know if it'll work the same as the original Necrodancer game. I actually didn't get to play that one, which is why I'm super hyped about this, so I can actually try it out.
Same.
But I think that having that on like the actual Treehouse to see people playing it on that, and then having at the same time another person like with a different controller just playing it regular would be a good promotion pitch for it.
I might be just in the minority that doesn't know this. Do they actually have a DDR pad that you can use on the Nintendo Switch?
No, but I'm pretty sure you could probably use a USB pad if there is one.
Yeah,
I would assume so.
Yeah, a lot of the pads that are made for like the computer use that people hook up to whatever device, it's all just based on a USB. And then from there, it would just need to be the game have something set up where you go and you press on each one of the pad buttons, and that will determine, the mapping for that controller. Because I used to do that when back when I was really big into DDR and ITG, I used to have a metal pad at my house, and I would hook that up to just my computer and set up all different type of programs that would have that built in. And it's really just mapping a controller the same as you would anytime you plug in like a controller into your PC that doesn't auto map for you.
That got me thinking a little bit that it could be kind of cool if they announced that you could get like an official Cadence of Hyrule DDR pad.
Oh, that would be
like
so
that during
cool.
the actual direct presentation. That'd be kind of cool as like another little sub surprise for it.
Yeah.
I would honestly really expect that, especially because of all the leaks of like GameStop. I think recently just had a weird leak of one of their ads that featured a Cadence of Hyrule thing. Which wasn't like an actual piece of hardware or anything like a DDR pad, but it actually had it featured with like a Nintendo Switch and everything. So that's for the most part why people were expecting it to have a firm release date or to be released on May 30th, which it didn't. But yeah, I mean, I could totally see them doing like a special promotion where you could get a DDR pad for the Nintendo Switch for Cadence of Hyrule. That would just make sense, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
There you go.
I guess I'm just the weird person who's not that into DDR. I actually have played Crypt of the Necrodancer. I was terrible at it. I was so bad. It's so much fun, but from what I understand, people who are actually good at video games have issue with it because it's hard.
Yeah, I heard that was one of the main things was the difficulty, which I assume being that this is like a more Nintendo base and that they would assume that more kids would get into this, that they'll probably scale that down a bit. But I don't know, maybe not. We'll have to see.
Yeah, you don't know. I got really excited about it when I think it was Miranda Sanchez talked about it on Nintendo Voice Chat this week or last week. They were talking about Cadence of Hyrule, and it totally makes sense now. I did not know that you could actually play it with a DDR pad, but she said like she was excited to play this one with a DDR pad when it comes out, and I was like, I don't understand that reference. I don't get it.
Get with the times, buddy.
Yeah. It's just I guess I'm just out of it. Speaking of getting with the times, our next news article is over on Game Informer. It is written by, who's this written by? Oh, it's Elise Favis? Something like that. As far as I know, that could be like Elijah, so I'm not 100% certain.
I think it
This is Celeste's up-and-coming free DLC. Will have over 100 levels. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm getting real pissed off with all these updates on this Celeste DLC, okay? And I'm going to give you a little bit of background since JJ doesn't know. Like 6 months ago now, or technically it's 6 months and 4 days, I purchased the Celeste Collector's Edition through what was it, Limited Run Games, and now they will not send it out until this update is finished so they can put it on the disc. And it's annoying the shit out of me.
But think of how many levels you'll have now.
Yeah, but I mean, did you buy that like mad long ago though?
Yeah, I bought it like 6 months ago.
Okay, so yeah, I'd be pissed off too, honestly. I'd be
It was initially supposed to come out, I think, a month or two ago, and then they were like, they didn't contact me or anything, and I don't know if they contacted like really any of the actual like purchasers of this item, but I had to like look it up because I was like, dude, why the fuck am I not getting this collector's edition? Where is it? Because I also purchased another game that won't ship until this ships, so I've got like 2 games just waiting. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
One of them was Momodora, and they just announced like this really cool collector's edition for the Nintendo Switch, and I was like, I should have just fucking waited.
Damn.
But the actual news is Matt Thorson, the creator of platformer Celeste, has been revealing more information about the game's big upcoming DLC. He recently wrote on Twitter that the DLC titled Chapter 9 Farewell will have over 100 levels. Holy cow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
What does that? I mean, what does that mean, though? Is that like each time the screen pans, like in the game?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't think it's like an actual 100 levels, like, you know, big stages like that. That's a lot.
Yeah. Because that's like impossible. Like, I mean, how many levels are in like a normal, or not normal, but like the original levels? Like, it seems like that's pretty on par with what was originally there. Maybe more like 50, but like, how big is this chapter in comparison to the others?
I think that Celeste initially had like it definitely has like over 16 levels as far as I know, because they had the 8 chapters, which I believe are like 8 individual levels, and then they had the backsides, from what I understand, which was like an additional challenge. So but that's just kind of me talking out my ass.
No, no. Those are chapters though, not levels. Like, I think what they're referring to in this is each time, like, okay, like in the screenshot that we have right here.
Yeah, you're talking about this specifically being
that
one level.
Screenshot is one level. What I'm assuming is each time you go from the left side to the right side of the screen, that's a level. I would assume, because otherwise that's impossible. There's like no way they would have made like 10 times as many games in this one DLC chapter than the original.
I think you might be right, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would be surprised if you were not right. If it came out and they had like full levels, meaning like the chapter size levels, basically, I'd just be like, all right, this is excessive. Who's gonna finish all this content?
Someone will. That's gonna be one hell of a speed run, though.
Seriously, did either of you guys play Celeste? I know, Josh, you have played a little of it. Have you, Jay?
No, not really. I mean, this is probably Candace of Hyrule is probably going to be the first time I really get hands-on time with it.
Wait,
alrighty.
I mean, no,
yeah, that threw me off.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, what?
No, that was my bad. Because I'm thinking of Crypt of the Necrodancer. But no, I haven't played. Yeah, I haven't played Celeste yet. No, because I know a lot of people have made a big deal about it. You know, saying that it's a great, fantastic game. I just haven't played it yet.
It's a good one. I definitely recommend. Like, especially if you're a platformer junkie, it's pretty on point. Like, it's really good. It can be very challenging, but it's well worth it when you are able to figure out the pattern that you have to go about it. And then you can watch people who speedrun it and feel like an idiot who can't do anything properly because they just do it with such ease. But it's really fun, and the moral of the whole game behind it is just such a sweet just such a sweet message for a game that you normally don't see and is becoming a little bit more popular in today's day and age, but isn't talked about as much as it needs to be. So for those reasons, I definitely recommend it. I don't know really how much. I mean, I guess we have heard about this being more of like, now it's more story based for Chapter 9. I don't know anything about what it will be like though.
I've actually heard it's the opposite, that there
Really?
wasn't going to be story in Chapter 9. Yeah,
I thought that was originally why they had prolonged it.
I don't think so. Initially, they prolonged it. It will be completely free. The additional content will release in 2019. However, the project grew in scope. Thornton said the January. So what I've heard is that initially it did not have a story. It was just levels, but maybe they did actually push it back specifically so that they could put story elements into it. Because something that Celeste was really known for was its story that hit on big issues like mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would assume, you're right, that there will actually be additional story in this.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. That's what I recall, but I might be wrong. It's fine. Regardless, we have to wait a little bit longer for more content.
Yeah. I'm going to have to wait just a little bit longer for my collector's edition. No big deal.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait even longer.
I'm not super salty about it at all.
I mean, yeah, definitely not. I mean, I'm not.
I imagine so. Speaking of things that'll just really going to take forever to come out, our last news story that we're going to do a deep dive into is over on Nintendo Life, and it is Liam. It's written by Liam Doolin, I think
like
is
that
his
last
name. That's a cool name. It reminds me of, I think that is literally like a name in Lord of the Rings.
Doolin?
I'm 100% sure. Yeah, Doolin
Really?
is a name in Lord of the Rings. In The Hobbit, I believe so, yeah. Not 100% sure, though. This article is Bug Fables looks like the Paper Mario game we've been waiting for. Did either of you guys play Paper Mario? Actually, I shouldn't ask that because I know Josh is obsessed with Paper Mario.
I have played
JJ,
Paper Mario. Like, which
have
Paper
as well?
Mario, though? Like, is it Paper Mario Sticker Star or Paper Mario on the Wii?
Oh, no. That doesn't count as a Paper Mario. That's trash. That's...
Josh is a Paper Mario purist, if you did not notice.
You only count the first two. Everything else that happened after that was just it was just a mistake.
It's just a mistake.
They never meant to release it.
So is that Paper Mario and 1,000 Year Door, or what
Yes.
games are those?
Yes. That is the original, and 1,000 Year Door are the best. And everything
Not
else...
Sticker Star?
No. Yeah, Sticker Star
Sticker
is the
Star.
best Paper Mario. Fight me.
Or the
Which
Mario
one was the
Luigi.
one after that?
The Mario Luigi one with Paper Mario. That happened.
You're saying about how the Luigi brothers, like the... Or not
No.
the Luigi
There
brothers,
was a Mario Luigi game where Paper Mario was a guest character that he actually
Oh, yeah. That's the most we'll get out of like a good RPG game from Paper Mario now, from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because basically what happened was Paper Mario used to be like an awesome series, and then they just decided, no more of that. We're going to do the Mario Brothers, like Mario and Luigi RPG games for the GBA. And they just kept rolling with those, and they were like, yep, Paper Mario is pretty much just make it more generic now and kind of carbon copy and throw it away. And
The most recent one was Color Splash on the Wii U, right? Isn't that what it's called?
No, I thought that was on the 3DS, I thought.
Sticker Star is on the 3DS.
No, Sticker Star's on 3DS. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Can't
I
remember.
think the other one is called Color Splash, but I'm not 100% sure. I might just be throwing that out there.
I mean, it doesn't matter anyway.
It's been a minute.
It doesn't matter. It's just it doesn't exist, basically.
Yeah, Paper Mario Color Splash for the Wii U.
Boom, dude. All that GameStop experience is paying off.
I know, you're so good. Surprisingly, it's got a 76 on Metacritic.
Yeah, not bad.
Oh, yeah, it's so strange.
Turns out some people might like the later Paper Mario games.
Apparently.
Somebody gave it a 0.
Was it you?
I mean, it should be, but no. No,
But if you are a nice little purist like Josh is, you guys can check out this awesome new game called Bug Fables. Actually, honestly, I'm very excited about this. Developer Moonsprout Games and publisher Dangan, something like that. Entertainment.
Yeah, Dangan. They're actually
Dangan,
the people. They're actually the people who published.
Did they do Odalis? I think it was on the Nintendo Switch.
They might have. But I was going to say they're actually the people who were publishing that one Kickstarter we talked about. What was the name of it?
We literally talk about 1 to 2 Kickstarters a week.
Kingdom of Night.
Which one was that one?
It was the one where you were like, oh, there's too much of the person fighting, like just the physical fighting. I want to see more of like the mage stuff. And like... we were looking at the tiers.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
A certain amount of classes if they hit that tier level.
Yeah, they only had like 2 classes. I was like, what the hell, dude?
At like base.
I remember that.
By the way, they hit all of those tiers and got all the classes. But yeah, just
good.
Side note, they're actually like publishers for a lot of different games that I didn't realize until just recently. There was another one I was just looking at the other day. Oh God, I wish I could remember. Anyway, but weird side tangent. Sorry.
So they will be releasing the charming adventure RPG Bug Fables on the Nintendo Switch and multiple other platforms later this year. The Paper Mario style game follows the 3 heroes Vi, something like that, Kabu and Leaf. I don't know why it says no, not that Leaf. Or not that one. I don't understand their reference. That's just, it's going over my head on that article. As they embark on the epic quest within the continent of Bugaria in search of a treasure and an everlasting sapling which grants immortality. There's a bunch of awesome stuff in this game. You're going to have a bunch of unique areas, a vast overworld that transitions into turn-based combat, which actually looks really awesome. I'm very excited for this game. Are you guys going to possibly pick this up? I mean, I know Josh will because he's such a big fan of Paper Mario. But will you, JJ?
I don't think so. Not personally my taste. I don't think I'll probably have enough time to play it, to be honest with you.
What? You aren't just blown out of the water by all these Beetle Boys?
Absolutely not. I'm good with the Beetleborgs. I'm good with that. I'm fine.
I mean, that was a good show.
Yeah, it was.
I think it's on Hulu. I'm not even joking.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, you can watch it on Hulu.
Time to binge.
Damn. I'm definitely going to get this game. This looks so cool, man. I mean, honestly, I watched like some of the trailer, and just recently there was someone who was doing like some kind of live conference of it, and I was watching some people play it. This is like carbon copy Paper Mario. Like, it's kind of funny how obviously a ripoff it is, just because
good Paper Mario or bad Paper Mario?
No, like good Paper Mario. Like,
okay, I just felt like I had to make sure.
Like the same way that when you walk into an enemy, the stage, like that stage weird like curtain call happens is like directly taken from it. The way enemies die is taken from it. The way they have these little stars that spawn out of the dead person, the enemy, for like experience is taken from it. Like all of the little like attack, like kind of special things that you have to do are like, it's just completely 100% Paper Mario without any of the Mario aspect to it, which is fine, because if they're not going to do it, then that's fine. I'll go somewhere else for my fix.
Yeah, dude, it's totally fine, because Mario is the douchiest part of Paper Mario. So naturally, Bug Fables with this thick Beetle Boy, dude, Kabu, is going to do so much better. I mean, I'm so excited.
For sure. Also, douchiest? Why? I don't remember.
Mario is such a douche.
I mean,
am I the only one on Earth who thinks Mario's an asshole?
He's fine.
You're sounding like a hater right now, is all I'm saying.
I just sound like a hating ass hater.
You got called out.
Dude, Luigi is he's the MVP. Let's be real.
It's true. It is the year of Luigi.
It was
yeah,
the
we're
year
gonna
of
get
Luigi.
to
It was the year of the
Every
Yoshi.
year is the year of Luigi. You don't understand.
Josh's new main in Smash Bros is Luigi, and he just taunts by like rolling on the ground a bunch.
I'm so terrible at Luigi in Smash. No.
Have you guys ever seen the wombo combo that people do with Luigi?
Oh yeah,
it's awesome. I've seen it like where two people play Luigi and they just keep doing it until they get like so high above the stage that they fall and like die or some stuff. It's awesome. People are talented. That's all I'll say.
And they like the plank online too with Luigi.
Yeah, that's that sweet taunt that Luigi has, is that planking. It's amazing. I have a friend who, anytime he plays Luigi, he just runs to the edge of the screen. Like if we're playing 3-player, he lets the two of us kill each other, and he sits on the edge of the screen and just planks. 'Cause he's a dick. Are you guys ready to get crammed in this amazing news cram segment? I mean, I am. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Let's go.
Cram.
Yeah, Josh does that a lot. He very much enjoys this.
He sounds excited about the cram.
I'm sure my neighbors do too.
Everyone loves it. I mean, speaking of getting crammed, this first article, I mean, it gets you there. This is over on IGN. It's Inside's Real Doll Collector's Edition gets its first teaser image. I've looked at it. It looks gross. It looks disgusting.
It does kind of look gross. I want to know. I really want to know what's in this damn box.
Oh, so did you look at the teaser image?
Yeah, it's like him all huddled up and like scared, and they think it's like the evil monster from Inside or something.
Yeah, in the corner of the image. JJ, did you play Inside at all?
No, I didn't finish it. I only got to dabble with it.
Gotcha. At one point in time, not to spoil anything, you become like just something else, something gross. It's just disgusting. And the side of this image totally looks like that, which makes me believe that this is going to be like a basketball size, just like a mongoloid. It's just going to look gross. It's going to be like some Hills Have Eyes stuff. I'm very excited to see what this thing looks like. It's going to be gross.
We'll see. I can't wait for like an IGN unboxing or something like that.
I wonder if they would, because, I mean, they are, like, doing this with real dolls, so this might be a sex doll. I don't know who's purchasing this to, like, do that with, especially because of how gross it is.
Wouldn't that be great to watch that video where they're like, we're doing the unboxing, and then they're like, shut the camera off.
They're like, I forgot who the manufacturer of this is. Or they're like, there's this weird hole. I don't know what goes in there.
I don't know. You put like one of the Joy-Cons in here? I don't understand.
Our next article in Newscram is also on IGN. It is Cuphead will be playable in Tesla Model 3, Model S, and Model X cars. I don't have a Tesla. I don't know if you guys do, but this is cool.
I mean, this is honestly the thing that everybody and their mother has been asking for. So it's nice that Tesla's finally calling to our pleas.
Just don't play and drive. Whatever you do.
You actually can't. It like when you start driving, it'll lock it.
Parked.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe I've heard that it's only the first world.
Yeah. As of right now, I guess they'll like release it as they go. I don't know really, but
that sounds a little cheap, is all I'm saying, especially for a Tesla. I'm just saying.
I think it's right on par for Tesla.
I mean, you could at least give us at least World 2 alongside of it as a deal at this point.
I'm wondering if you actually have to buy it. Like if it's just like a free
I would
download,
not put it
like
past them.
yeah, how you used to get like Centipede on like old phones, or now every phone for some reason has Candy Crush downloaded on it. Like I wonder if it's going to be like that, where every Model 3, Model S, and Model X just randomly gets Cuphead downloaded on it, and like the owners are like, "Why the fuck is this on you?" It's just at some point in time going to become like. It's just going to become like garbageware. It's just going to exist for no reason. That'll be fun. I'm very excited to see people get super annoyed about this. Like I said, I don't own a Tesla, but man, that's cool. I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, you got it on the Switch. Why not get it in your car, I guess. Our next article, once again, on IGN, is Weather Factory reveals new game, Book of Hours, and announces Cultist Simulator Anthology Edition. Yeah, I never played Cultist Simulator or anything like that. It looked interesting. I never played it, though.
Yeah, I have a friend who's been playing it, and he says it's like really difficult and kind of confusing. It looks interesting, but I haven't gotten into it.
Me neither.
On to the next one.
There's so many great indie games out there that it's hard to get everything to. Our next one is on Polygon. This is God's Trigger gets post-launch support in free content. The one after that is over on Game Informer. It is Iron Maiden sues the developers of old school shooter Ion Maiden. Just to be clear, that is Ion, I-O-N, not Iron. Yeah.
I remember hearing about this game at PAX East like 2 years ago. I remember that. I was like, damn, this sounds very similar to Iron Maiden.
Little did you know
Well,
they
so
would
did
get
they.
sued. Yeah.
Right? Like, apparently you could sue for anything now, I guess. I mean, even if you're just a letter off.
I know, it is kind of crazy. Like, do they really, like, you can tell that it's obviously inspired by it, but like, are they really gonna win? I feel like
No,
this
I don't
is
think they're
just-
going to win.
Dude,
at all.
Bethesda won with the developers of Pray for the Gods, and they had to put that stupid ass A in the name of their game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but that was a direct steal of the name. This is they took a
said
letter out.
Pray
This is-
for the Gods. The other game is Pray.
Unless they had like,
it's just a word.
music from like Iron Maiden, or like there was like a straight up like, call out in the game, they're not going to win that case. They're going
Yeah,
to settle
I mean,
out of court.
It's more of just like filibustering them to just kind of be stuck there.
You
Yeah.
gotta wonder if like the people like if it's PR kind of a thing, like the agents for Iron Maiden, like the band, or if it's actually the people like in the Iron Maiden band that just were playing their PlayStation 4 one day and they're like, wait, what the fuck?
I'm
This is Ion Maiden?
pretty sure they do not care at all.
Yeah, I don't think they care at all either.
I'm pretty sure they have no idea what this is at all.
Just I guess so. There's like 80-year-old men on their PlayStation 4s being like, what the fuck is this game, dude?
It's kind of a
Can't
shame
believe
because
it.
it looks interesting.
It looks really cool. I mean, in the end of this, I imagine all they'd have to do is change the name. They'd be like, Neon Maiden. Ha, suck it. And then, yeah, of course, somebody else would come down on them. Also on Game Informer is Bossa Studios to close Worlds Adrift. Dude, Worlds Adrift looked so cool. I never got to play it, and now I'm depressed that it's getting, like, closed. I was waiting for it to come to consoles, like I do every other game, because I'm not going to play on PC, especially not with Josh. But
Gotta man up. Gotta put on the big boy PC pants.
did you guys see anything for this game before? have you seen anything for it?
I
have
think I
no-
may have heard of it, but I don't think I've seen anything for it.
Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
idea what this is.
It's like grappling hook space pirates. That's the easiest way to explain it, which sounds really weird, trust me. But if you see anything for this game, it'll make sense. It just makes sense. Like, this was coming out, when I initially saw this was when, like, Sea of Thieves was just announced and everything. So you can make your own, like, kind of, like an airship, and you can upgrade it and everything. And you play, it's a multiplayer game, so you can play with multiple people. But there's this really cool feature where you can grapple, like, use this big grappling hook to hook onto your, like, your airship and swing over and attack other people's airships. It's awesome. It's super cool. I mean, it was super cool. Now,
Yeah,
it's not.
well, sounds interesting. Too bad I can't do anything with it.
Man, should have started this podcast like 2 years ago when this game came out. We could have maybe got people to play it.
Maybe.
The next article is over on Twinfinite, and it is Bloodstained. Ritual of the Night shines in new gameplay showing, platforming, and massive boss. So I think we're all here pretty excited for this game.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's also nice because, like, one of the last things I heard about this was Bloodstained playing poorly at one of the last conferences they showed it off at. And they originally said it was because of, like, the devices being overheated. So it's good to see that they're still getting good publicity, and maybe it was just the case that they had a bad
Maybe
case
that was
of-
just that one instance, because I know I played it at E3 one time. I played it on an Xbox One, and I actually liked it. It was a very short level. We played it with Iga, and he was kind of like walking us through like the stage and stuff. And it's exactly what you would expect, a spiritual successor of Symphony of the Night. There really wasn't much that seemed like there was wrong with it. I think that now, since then, they've had a really good visual upgrade. I think that they're
Yeah.
starting to be a little bit more comfortable showing a lot more crazier stuff that's going to be in that game. I think this one is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, it looks... What?
Oh, I was going to ask JJ if he backed it on Kickstarter when it originally...
No, I did not. No, I did not, actually. I decided not to at the time. I decided just to wait for when it was going to come out and stuff. I mean, that's a very gray area for a lot of us in the media when it comes to, like, backing Kickstarters. Even though we might be real fans of, like, specific games and stuff, it just is a very gray, moral area.
Yeah, it seems a little weird. I was really hoping that you had, so I could ask you how you feel about the Kickstarter exclusive DLC
Yeah.
being like available to the public, because apparently they
I'd be
only
pissed
asked
about
like
that,
30%.
honestly. Yeah, if I was one of those people that paid for that type of stuff or put money down for it, I'd be a little bit pissed off. I can understand the frustration with that.
Yeah, last week we were talking about like a Game Informer article that was talking about it. I was like, man, this is condescending, because it was like talking about how they were choosing to be upset. I was telling Josh, I was like, if there's anyone who's going to be upset about this, it should be them. I don't know anybody else.
It's funny because I don't like articles like that are a little bit condescending. Like just in general, it's be like, oh no, you should not feel this way. Like shame on you and stuff. I think that's kind of wrong. But I also think there's another aspect of that, is that the idea of Kickstarters, especially when, you get a bunch of people backing you, as a company, and then stuff changes or stuff shifts. Remember, that also happened with Kenji Inafune. I think it was with Red Ash. It was one of his games on a Kickstarter that a lot of stuff changed up because they found new investors. I could totally understand people's frustrations when things like that really seismic shift throughout the time, like when that Kickstarter's open or when they're in development. And you could argue the same thing kind of like, with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, technically.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that especially because they had initially promised the Vita edition and they actually canceled it.
And they canceled it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I say this a lot when we're talking about any time with like Kickstarters and whatnot. You're putting in that money as an investment. It's a risk. Like it's the same with any kind of investment. You're basically trusting those people, and sometimes it works out perfectly and sometimes it doesn't, and that's just the risk.
It's an investment with no return.
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually you might get a return.
Yeah, but like no return in money is what I mean. Like that, you're gonna get the game that you paid for, but like no investment that gives you no return. Basically.
Well, yeah, unless you're doing like Fig and their model, but yes.
True.
Yeah, Fig is really cool. When Josh showed me that for God Bless the Crowd, I was like, this is awesome. You basically like back it and become kind of like an actual investor. It's super cool. The next article in News Cram is over on Twinfinite. Is publisher Team 17 will announce 2 new games this week. Funny enough, one of those games was actually announced. We have it further down in News Cram. It's actually Blasphemous, which is the next 2D Dark Souls-like game to watch out for. I've been actually following Blasphemous for a while. It looks really, really cool. It looks really gross, like most Dark Souls games do. It's like just grotesque wet people. That's what Blasphemous looks like, and I'm very excited for it. It looks awesome. Also on Nintendo Life, not that the other one wasn't, but I guess this one also is Shovel Knight update coming to musical bullet hell game Just Shapes and Beats. I've never played Just Shapes and Beats, but man, I love me some Shovel Knight. Not gonna get me to play it, but that's cool.
Yeah.
It did look pretty cool in the actual trailer, because basically everything that you're avoiding is things that look and will be familiar to people who have played the game, like the symbols, the different type of enemies, like based on the level and the different type of knight that you're facing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bunch of like rats with helicopters thrown at you, like little
Maybe,
propellers.
Yeah.
Nice, awesome. So this one's actually real, also on Nintendo Life. Try to avoid updating your Katana Zero on Switch if you value your save file. That's not a good headline. I would not be excited to read that if I had it on Nintendo Switch, which I don't.
And one of their weird things, like it has been fixed apparently, but it takes process time for that to actually get up
to get certified.
Yeah, exactly, to get patched and into the Nintendo store. And one of the things they're doing as like kind of a fix is they're putting in eventually a cheat code that will just let you say that you beat the game to like, I guess, travel to different sections. I don't know, because I haven't played the game, so I don't know if you can story jump, but I guess they're just doing that to make it easier for those who like lose a lot of content. It just sucks because that seems like it's, well, if I'm halfway through, I don't want to beat the full game,
Yeah, we should ask Roger. He's a big fan. He'd probably know. We'll give our audience an update from Roger, the biggest Katana Zero fan ever. Our next article over on Nintendo Life is Time Splinter is a Metroidvania turning back the clock on Switch next week. Time Splinter looks really, really cool. I've heard it's pretty fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it's been out on the PC for a while now, but I have heard.
I think it was also on PlayStation 4 and the Vita as well, I believe. Yeah.
I don't know about Vita, but maybe.
I'm honestly not sure. Anything coming to the Vita now blows my mind. It's a little crazy. Next one is Velvet Swing arrives on Switch in a Ooh, knew it. In a fortnight with a bucket full of weird. That's a little odd. The next one is the space-themed puzzle adventure Afterlife is targeting a Switch release. Then we've got Vectronom drops some chip-tastic tunes on Switch today, which it should be already out because I grabbed these articles like 2 days ago. So, yeah, you can pick up that game 2 days ago. The next one is See the World in a Different Way. What? In a Different Way in Another Site on Switch? That's a weird title. I'm going to be honest, I don't like it.
Yeah, that is a weird title. That is pretty weird.
I'm so glad somebody else is here to
You need
shit
to go
on
back to
stuff.
the editing room on that one to fix that headline. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it really threw me off. I was like, wait, what? Okay. The next news article we have in News Cram is 198X release trailer fires up our arcade nostalgia.
Isn't that pronounced 1980X, though?
Is it 1980X?
Yeah.
1980X, yeah.
That sounds better.
1980X. Oh, my God. That's funny.
That's a weird title. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like that.
That's another one that got to go back to the editing room.
It's just like the what was that game that came out not too long ago? I think it was Valhalla, but it had
with all the 1s and 11, like
yeah, or like Y2K, how it has like 2 1s. Yeah, the good old
it's written in Leet, basically.
Yeah, there's just so many weird like ways that people make names, I guess, to try to stand out, because most people just make fun of their names, but then they stand out so much that it's like, that's just weird, dude.
It's like, just stop it. Just stop it. Just make a real name is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're like, just make like Metroidvania, like new Metroidvania game. That's all you need. That's your name. That's cool. It makes sense. The next news article we have is also from Nintendo Life. It is Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight receiving a limited run physical release. It already did on PlayStation 4, which I bought and still haven't got. So, I'll just go die. It's cool. It's cool.
Not for you.
Speaking of limited run, our next article is on Gomatsu. It is Psychonauts PlayStation 4 limited run physical edition announced. Dude, pre-orders go live for this on Friday. I am so stoked. By the time this episode comes out, I'm going to have purchased some sweet-ass Psychonauts limited edition stuff. Guys, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
What a strange time for this to come out. I guess it makes sense because Psychonauts 2 and like the press release and everything, but
yeah,
this is such an old game.
Yeah, I honestly would have thought that they would have saved this announcement for something like the Kinda Funny Games showcase, especially because Greg Miller was tweeting out pictures of Tim Schafer at their studio for Kinda Funny Games showcase. Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's even more big news.
Maybe he's going to be there to talk about Psychonauts 2, but this would have been a cool thing to add on to top of that, especially with him there.
Yeah, especially because like it's not okay. So Kinda Funny, this is their second game showcase. The first one actually had limited run games like announcements.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it had the Celeste Collector's Edition, which I purchased. Still haven't got. I'm just gonna bring it up as much as possible. And the last article that we're gonna talk about, because I already talked about Blasphemous, is Barkley 2 indie game. I cannot read that word.
Disintegrates.
There you go, disintegrates. For some reason, I just couldn't do it. What?
Disintegrates?
Disintegrates, yeah.
Barkley 2 indie game disintegrates years after successful $100,000 Kickstarter. Holy shit!
That is a lawsuit.
Yeah, the perils of Kickstarter right there, guys.
That's a pretty bad one.
That's a real big one, indeed.
Honestly, it's a little bit bad that news article just happened to be right before we transition to our next and almost last segment of the podcast. This is where Josh hops into a bunch of different indie kickstarting, like, what am the word I'm looking for? Crowdfunding. I can't believe I forgot it. Where Josh hops into a bunch of different crowdfunding sites, finds some awesome indie games, and we talk about them. This is God Bless the Crowd. We've got 2 indie games to talk about this week over on Kickstarter. We've got Reign of X and Fling to the Finish. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, well, let's start off with Reign of X. It is a new deep strategy RPG on Steam. I don't know why they had PC there, but all right.
case
So
you
they're
were confused.
Yeah, just in case you didn't know where Steam was. Just I don't know.
Could be a
I guess
Steam box. I'm just saying.
I was gonna say it could be the Steam machine. Yeah. Whoever purchased those, they will not be able to purchase this, I guess. So the goal that they're looking for is almost $100,000. It's $95,675. They have 109 backers, 14 days left to go, and they currently have $4,579. There's absolutely no way that this gets funded.
I don't know. Maybe a rich investor decides to throw $100,000 in it for no apparent reason.
So wait, let me get this straight. They got over 100 people or so supporting the project, and they're asking for $100,000 in order to fund this game.
Yeah.
That does not look like it's getting funded anytime soon. Like I get like shooting high with a Kickstarter, but I feel like there needs to be some realistic expectation, unless it's really going to cost them that much, which I don't know. Again, I don't know the economics of like certain indie games like that.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, this is a conversation we have every week.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know with these, because some of them, they'll create these egregious, like crazy numbers that you're like, there's no way you're gonna make it, but then they do, and you're like, what the hell? And then other times you'll see these games where it's like you have $95,000 as your goal, and it's been almost your full entire campaign, and now you only have $4,000. So it really depends. Like, there needs to be a lot of marketing. Like, I feel specifically for Kickstarters, there needs to be a lot of marketing and already know-how in these type of games. It
needs to be a demand too for the specific idea, because you look at other Kickstarters that like exploded. Like, again, look at Bloodstained stuff. Before everything else changed with it, people were in demand for that type of game or that type of genre and stuff. Are people really craving right now a deep strategy RPG? I mean, when I see deep strategy RPG, I'm thinking either Final Fantasy Tactics, I'm thinking Disgaea, I'm thinking stuff like that. I mean, is there really a demand for something like that right now?
I mean, I would say that there still is. You still see games like Divinity 2 that got backed and was a huge success. And then you also have games like Pillars of Eternity 2, or Pillars of Eternity 1, which wasn't as successful from not marketing, but like financial standpoint. But there's still games that are getting back. There's still people who believe in a lot of these types. But I think it's usually because you know that team already, or because they have something right out the gates that is like, this is why the game is awesome, because it has this one unique element, or this one, this thing that really is the attention grabber. With this, Reign of X, it actually looks like an interesting game to some degree. Like, I think this would be a game that I would play if I just had it, kind of a thing. But there's nothing that for me is grabbing my attention as something that I absolutely need. And that's probably why, there's not a lot of funding for it right now.
Yeah, you guys talking about how maybe we don't, there might not be a whole lot of demand for tactical RPGs, and then Josh bringing up, Pillars of Eternity, Torment, Tides of Numenera, stuff like that. The big difference, I would say, between Reign of X, I guess, and those is, this seems less of an actual turn-based tactical RPG and more of I think the only tactics that really goes into it is in this weird card system and switching out heroes.
Yeah, no, this looks more very Diablo-esque, to be honest.
Yeah, I think marketing this as a tactical RPG was a big oversight. It's kind of weird, honestly.
I see.
Yeah, it seems a little odd, but people like Josh who love card games will really like this 108 heroes card system.
Oh, yeah,
so,
let me tell you.
Really, if anything, they should have marketed this as a card game.
As long as you
probably
put
would have
cards
got
in
a lot
it,
of
I'll
money.
buy it.
See, this matches your criteria, Josh. It's not fully a card game. It is also something else nobody knows because it doesn't seem marketed appropriately.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I also think it's a little weird just because you can't actually get the game until you throw $22 US dollars to them, and
that's a no-no.
The other tiers above it, at first I was looking at it and I was like, oh, only $15 for their closed beta access. And I was like, that's, $15, that's a reasonable Kickstarter amount for normal games. You'll usually put in that price point. But I was looking at it and I was like, it only says closed beta access. Where do you actually get the game? And you have to keep scrolling down a couple of tiers until it finally says list. Where is it? Listed as backer on the website CD key for the full game.
Okay, I think that right there is the problem, because a lot of Kickstarter games, especially the successful ones, they already have like you getting a copy or a code for the game at like the $5 or $10 level, like really, really cheap. You know, to me, I think that's maybe shooting a little bit too high, and I think people are looking at that and saying to themselves, like, do I really want to invest money into this, especially if something that's so unknown right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something you have to think about with all these Kickstarters, and it is, like, that. It goes to our point again, is, like, it has to be either something that has that element of, like, oh, this is very unique, or something where we know the developer from before, where we can trust putting in this initial money, because...
Yeah, rep.
Like, these are just random developers who have worked from others that are creating their own company. So it's like, well, how much do we trust that with your idea of this new game that, you know, what does your game bring to the table? And I think it's cool that they do offer that, you know, closed beta access so low price tier point. But I think it is very weird. Usually you would see this where instead it's the reverse, and it's the lower point to get the game and you pay more to actually be a part of the closed beta.
Exactly. Or be part of the process in making it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to talk, when you guys are talking about the price point for like actually getting it, 22 actually isn't even it. That's like an early bird price seemingly, because it's limited to 300.
Yeah.
The actual price is $30 for this. So once these like early bird ones are taken up, the 300, you have to pay $30, which you do get some other cool stuff. Like you get this like key ring or whatever, and a pen, some postcards, and some other stuff, which is cool because this is probably one of the only Kickstarters we've seen in the whole time, like 33 now episodes of doing this segment, that I have actually seen people like offer that kind of stuff, like physical rewards, anything but digital wallpapers basically, and like beta access for purchasing the game. But $30 is a steep price, especially like how you guys said, for like something that is not a known quantity.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame too, because the breakdown of the actual like leveling system looks kind of interesting, because the way they talk about characters, it seems like there's classes, but you can kind of build them to do whatever you want and mix and match. So there's probably, which is that card system you talked about, so obviously I would promote it.
I think that too is also part of it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it is an interesting element to it, but I don't think, and this is kind of almost a joke of what you said, Vaughn, I think they should have marketed that part a little bit harder. Is they should have gone into more of the customization, because what I'm seeing right now is more of just like a basic, you know, Diablo-esque, but more kind of third person actually in the character rather than a top-down dungeon crawler version of it.
Yeah, and let alone the fact that the trailer was just atrocious. It was bad.
I feel like you're never happy with Kickstarter trailers, though. So
okay, some of them are really bad, though.
Some of them just approach it wrong. Like I actually speak to this because I've spoken to different, like, you know, college graduate, you know, like indie devs or people that have tried to get in on stuff like this. And sometimes you would think that, you know, them approach it, they would have like all their bases covered and stuff, and just sometimes they just drop the ball right on the first impression. That's so key, especially when you're trying to get people to invest money into your project like that. And it's a damn shame. It really sucks.
Yeah, that's so true, especially because like Fling to the Finish, honestly, just seeing like what this game looks like, if I hadn't seen that trailer, I probably wouldn't have cared. But our next, like this next one we're going to talk about, having seen the trailer and seen like people having fun with it and really enjoying it, really got me into it and made me want to play this game, versus Reign of X, where it was like, I watched it and it's just basically still images the whole time until you get to this weird like CG-esque character that for some reason on her card has a different hair color than in the game, and it doesn't really even show gameplay. Like after that, after it goes through this weird like story-esque sequence, then it goes into concept art, which is cool. But something that people really need to see is gameplay, especially when you say it's a tactical RPG, which then you scroll down and you're like, wait, this doesn't seem like a tactical RPG at all. This seems like a Diablo-esque game.
Yeah, I mean, it also is just a big, you know, perspective of every game is going to be in a different state when they're at these Kickstarters. And Fling to the Finish is obviously more ready, and you can see that a lot of the times in the amount that they're asking for. So it's much tougher once again because there's a lot of unknown, because really they're nowhere near an actual completion date with that game, because it seems very just starting it and getting those ideas put together, as where Fling to the Finish seems more ready, and what we're doing as far as backing it is polishing. But yeah, let's just jump to the next one.
Okay, I did want to ask one more question. Do you know like the estimated delivery times that they have? Do you know if you have to put something down there, or is it like an option to just put like TBD kind of a thing? In a lot of the ones that I've seen, I've never really seen a TBD for estimated delivery, which is interesting because November 2020 seems pretty close for what they've shown in this. Yeah, especially when they ask for like $100,000 almost.
But let's see, is that the only estimated? Because that is.
Further down, they have one that's like October, but I believe that's because it's like the $2,000 one or something.
Yeah.
Oh no, I guess it's only November. Oh no, October right here.
No, there's one. Yeah, it's interesting because originally I thought that would be more, because they might be tailoring that towards when you'll get the beta access instead, since all of them allow you to go to the closed beta. So maybe they're just giving you the first one. Because what I was assuming is what they would do is they would have the November 2020 on the beta access ones that are only beta, and then for the game they would give you a more farther out date, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know, maybe they are closer into the development process or farther along, but they just didn't show it as well. I don't know. I would assume that there's no way that it could come out November 2020.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's something I really like with some Kickstarters where they actually they'll do in their product descriptions and their tier descriptions, they'll be like, hey, this is when, so you'll get a copy of the game, and then they put in parentheses estimated time of delivery like this month or whatever. So they actually specify when you might actually get that. I like that
though. I really like that, and I think I also like when they give frequent blog updates, like on those little updates that you put like towards the bottom and stuff, that gives you detailed information as they go along and stuff, because that's when I see like a lot more kind of not the deadline, like the specific dates, but like the time frame, the window of when they're actually looking at stuff, and that changes constantly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It seems like with Kickstarters, the more information that you have on the product, the better, especially because it makes people feel, I would say it makes them feel a little bit more secure in the decision, especially when we were talking earlier about how this is like you investing in a product that may or may not, depending on what you consider a return, ever have one, because people have just taken the money. They've just been like, all right,
you know something? This just kind of reminds me of something. It reminds me of another indie game that had a Kickstarter that they didn't charge for the beta access. I think it was Hazelnut Bastille. That was from a while back. It plays a little bit kind of like The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and they didn't end up charging on their Kickstarter or any of their other stuff that they were asking for the beta, or basically a demo of like one level of the game. And I think that was a great way to get a lot of people invested and be like, oh, let me see this if this is for me and stuff. And that garnered a lot of attention, a lot of support afterwards. I wish that more Kickstarters would do something along those lines than something like this. Personally, again, that's just my opinion.
Little did you know, Hazelnut Bastille was actually one of the first games that we had on God Bless the Crowd.
Oh,
and
wow.
then I made a joke about it on Twitter, about how I made a joke saying that the reason that it got funded was because we featured it on our segment. And nice. Somebody tweeted back at me, and they're like, are you being serious? I can't tell. I was
they were ready. They were ready to come out. It's like, yo, that's time to represent Hazelnut Bastille.
It's like, in what way was I being serious? I don't understand.
Excuse me, good sir.
The next game and last game that we have on God Bless the Crowd is Fling to the Finish, a cooperative racing game where you are tethered to your best friend or worst enemy. This game reminds me so much of Linked Together, the series that they had on IGN, where Brian Altano and I forget who else, I think it might have been Sam Claiborne, played Breath of the Wild, but only using one Joy-Con, each. That's what this reminds me of.
I think that was Zachary Ryan. I could be wrong though, because I remember seeing that video.
Right. I think you're right. I think it was Zach Ryan. I remember him like talking about it on his last episode of Nintendo Voice Chat.
Yeah.
So, are you guys excited about this game? Honestly, I think this game looks awesome.
I haven't
it looks
seen
like
it,
so
honestly.
much fun.
I mean, it sounds really dope though.
Yeah, the only thing that I would honestly say that's weird about this is you have to share the controller with somebody if you're playing local co-op. I don't like that. I hate that so much.
That's a party game thing. That's like a drunk party game type of thing that you would pull out for everybody. Like that, to me, that sounds like fun and goofy.
Yeah, it definitely sounds fun and goofy. The art style reminds me so much of Deformers. It's kind of weird.
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah,
I hate Deformers.
It's just the like chunky little fat round like animal characters. That's what this art style reminds me of, and it's so funny.
Wow,
it is pretty cool. And it's a good price point for it too. I like how you can get 2 copies for an even lower price than getting the one with the second tier up. And then as you keep going, it's like these little skins. So I think they did it right with it. And one of the things that we talked about, I believe you mentioned, is I like how they put the funding of like the reasons why, like where your money is going to. Of like,
I like that.
Saying that here's a big chunk is for game development, then music, software licenses, legal fees. Like it breaks it down of like why we're asking for this. Yeah, but as far as like actual gameplay, it looks pretty dope. Like it just looks really goofy. Yeah, like you said, this looks like such a good drunk game. Like having a bunch of friends over, drinking, and trying to play this game together. Like, what a nightmare, but great time at the same time.
That's so true. And I love that it's not necessarily like your typical racing game where you're just trying to race to the finish. It also has that kart racer aspect where you can pick up different power-ups and use them. Mm-hmm. So like it has in the attack section where they drop a shitload of plungers on their enemy.
Yeah. I also just like how you can get tangled with the other like your opponents. They're like in one of the GIFs, it's just them going across like a log and it's everyone just like tangling up in each other's like rope. It looks so weird.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they just get stuck together. This game looks awesome. I'm actually really excited about this. I'm wondering if this is going to, like, when this game releases, I should give you a little bit, should give the listeners, viewers, whatever you'd like to be called, I guess, fans, because we have so many. I should give them a little bit of background. The goal for them is actually $15,000. They've made $13,279 with 22 days left to go and 268. This is totally a reasonable goal. I think they're going to hit this hands down. Yeah. No way they're not going to. It literally just went up as I'm looking at it.
I know. So, I just saw that too. I was like, oh, I just bought it.
You see, now that's cool. Again, that sounds reasonable. That sounds interesting. And I think that there is a buzz there that other people could see that will also probably entice them to join up with that.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm wondering if when this game comes out, which it definitely will, and it's also being made by a bunch of college students, which is cool. But I'm wondering if when this game comes out, it's going to do something similar to like how Risk of Rain 2, when you purchased a copy of the game, it would give you an additional copy to like give to somebody else, if I remember correctly. Or like, what was it, A Way Out, who did the exact same thing, where when you purchased the game, you had absolutely no option but it giving you another copy so that you could play with somebody else. I think that would be like a perfect thing for this game to do when it finally gets a full release.
I agree.
This is, it's obviously meant to be a co-op game. Yes, you can play it in local co-op, like you said, drunk with friends, but it would also really behoove them to sell it like for $20 or sell it for like $30 or whatever and give you 2 copies. And then you could just play it with anybody.
Yeah.
I do also enjoy that when they break down the ways that you can play, there's online, local split screen, local and online co-op. So it's similar to how like in Call of Duty, like I think when they first started out with the
guest.
Yeah, in the Black Ops series, yeah, you could bring the guest with you. I think that's super cool. I like that a lot. And then there's solo, which I feel like is a little weird, but all right. I don't really see the solo potential to this, but that is awesome that it also has solo player. Yeah. I'm excited about this. You can get glasses skins for all your people. That is pretty sweet.
My eyes are great.
time to move in and just cool down this podcast in our last segment. This is where we just kind of talk about a topic. It's super fun. In hopes to make an evergreen segment in our very much dated podcast, I have chosen something that is just straight up. Anybody can listen to this specific section of the podcast, and it'll make sense no matter when they listen to it. Anything else on the podcast, sadly not. So feel free to just, skip to this part if you want, or just listen to the whole thing. That'd be really nice. Our random question of today is, I want to know what your guys' first indie game was, and what game really made you enjoy indie games. So since JJ is the guest, I would like to start with him, unless he would like one of us to go first so he can think about it.
No, sure. I'll go first. And it's crazy because I'm thinking back, because again, I played a lot of different indie games over the years. I think the very first one that made me realize, what the difference was between AAA and indie games was Dust and Elysian Tale. That is my favorite indie game, hands down, without question. And the reason being is because I think it looks great. It looks absolutely beautiful. It reminds me a little bit of like some of those old animations, featuring animals and stuff, or a little bit kind of like Princess Mononoke. I love whimsical games. This is why I love games like that. I love Ori and the Blind Forest. I love games like Dragon's Crown. I love games like, Odin Sphere, that have a whimsical and really heavy emphasis on its visuals, that type of quality. And so just playing that game, I also love the story, and I think the gameplay was also a huge part of that. It just was something that just really resonated with me. There's a lot of other stories. I did a review of Dust and Elysian Tale some time ago on my YouTube channel where I went into much more detail about it, why that game was so important to me. But that was really the one I guess I could point to that got me into playing other types of indie games that were out there, at least, being the very first one that I was really exposed to.
Very
Interesting enough, you actually pretty much just swayed me to purchase this game. I've been on the fence for a really long time.
You need to play it. You need to play it. It's a must play.
It's pretty fun.
It is a must play for anybody that loves great looking games, and especially ones that people love playing, games with solid controls. I mean, it plays like a Metroidvania, to some extent. Here and there, it's primarily an action game, but like really, it's the visuals that make that game like so good.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Neopets, which is a weird thing to say. And
it totally if we went from Princess Mononoke to Neopets, oh god.
Yeah, it's totally like a 90s kid thing to say, but it looks a lot like Neopets.
Perfect.
So mine, I'll go next. The game that really got me into indie games, that made me love them and really just want to focus on them, was actually Bastion of all things. And normally I would say Hyper Light Drifter, because that was the first game I purchased as like an indie game, knowing that it was an indie game. Yeah, that was the first game I bought, but I played it for like a little bit, got my ass beat, and I was like, man, this game is hard. I'm going to wait for a while to actually play this game. And then I was like, you know what? Bastion is always on sale. I'm going to see what this game's all about. So I pick up Bastion. It's phenomenal. That game is fantastic. I have a sticker on my laptop because of it. I bought like 4 copies of that game.
Dude, I love Bastion. It's so good. The narration of that game is so damn good.
Yeah, there's that deep, like really just kind of
just
like
makes
manly
that game,
voice.
It makes the tone of that game. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so awesome, let alone it having like multiple endings that you could play through, and all its like really cute characters. It has all those sweet challenges. You can play with all sorts of different different weapons. You aren't locked into any certain like weapon type. I love it so much. Bastion is easily one of my favorite indie games that's ever come out. The studio also developed Transistor, which I really enjoy, but less so than Bastion, and then they put out Pyre. I'm going to be honest.
Pyre's good too.
Okay, so you may have swayed me on that one too. I have been on the fence about Pyre as well for a while. That one does not look like Neopets. I will let you guys know.
Fun fact about Pyre: I wrote the guide on IGN, the wiki guide for Pyre.
Wow.
That's awesome.
When it first came out. Yeah, I love Bastion. The reason why I got into Pyre was because of Bastion. It's just, again, the visuals and stuff, and the narration, just the voice acting in their games is just so on point. It really stands out amongst a lot of other games. That is something you remember after playing it.
Have you played Hades yet?
No, not yet. I've been dying to. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Hades, and seeing it makes me really want to play that game.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks about that one is, especially being a huge fan of Supergiant Game, is the fact that you have to play it on the Epic Games Store. There's no other way to play that game right now.
Oh, wow. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe they'll put it on PSN or even on like the Nintendo Switch Online thing down the line. Because that's what happened with Bastion at one point. I think I played it first on Xbox or Xbox 360 or Xbox One, and then I played it on Vita and PlayStation 4 later on. Something like that.
Yeah, I bought it on Vita and then ended up just playing it on PlayStation 4 because I was like, these controls are much easier on PlayStation. I just play it on there. Yeah. It's just easier. Yeah, one of my E3 predictions was that Supergiant was going to announce an actual release date or an early access port of Hades onto a console. I would assume the Nintendo Switch first, but that's just because the Nintendo Switch sells indie games like hotcakes.
Those indies are good. Yeah, I would totally take that.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So Josh, what is your indie game that got you into indie games? What put you on this path to become the illustrious Big Josh boy?
The illustrious. So I have 2 games in mind, and the reason why I say 2 is because one, based on how you want to describe indie games, might disqualify it. We had to talk about this before, but it was published by Microsoft Studios.
Is it Ori?
No. This is way earlier. So my first one was Castle Crashers.
Oh, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Castle Crashers was amazing back in the day. And that was back when I had first started to get into like the indie game kind of scene, because that's when Xbox 360's Live Arcade popped up. And so this is from all these independent developers who wanted to create all these games, and they're getting published through that Microsoft product. And it was just a weird time of, being able to actually download games online, being able to find all these games from a service platform that aren't, the main AAA titles of just going to a GameStop and seeing here's the big next game, the big, Halo or whatever it is. And so it was a lot of fun just as a game in general. And it was also such a good representation of a community building it, because one of the things about the Behemoth, which comes from basically Newgrounds, which is a website that was very popular way back in the day. And so originally they had created Alien Hominid, and I never really got into it, but with Castle Crashers, they created it, and it was a big community of, for people who watched Flash animations or played video games on Newgrounds, it would feel very much the same and had that same quirkiness, kind of crudeness to it, but a lot of love put into it because there's so many different investors in a, not a money perspective, but in a content and community perspective. Like, you would find all of these people who make music on Newgrounds were promoting it and putting their music into the game. You would find all of the artists from Newgrounds helping and working on this. And it was just an amazing, a culmination of all of these different experiences that weren't really mainstream, so to speak, but still created such a epic looking piece of art or amazing game that came out of this. And it's just an awesome time that I've ever had playing it with friends, and that kind of got me into indies in general just because of that. And if you want to fight me because you say, oh well, Microsoft published it, then I'll go to Binding of Isaac, and Binding of Isaac is just amazing.
Both solid games. Yeah. By the way, have you guys ever seen the thing that the Behemoth does at PAX East, where they have that big booth section up there? They have Castle Crashers on a big arcade machine with 4-player co-op like that, and it's kind of like the old TMNT games a little bit. That is a fun way to play that game. That is, I tried that one time, and I had so much fun doing that.
Oh, I would love to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's really worth it. It's really dope.
Josh was upset several weeks ago when he found out I've never played Castle Crashers.
I mean, it's a
You got to play with people, though. You can't play it alone. You got to play with people.
That's true.
It's so much more better experience.
You can't do your solo bullshit. You have to actually play with friends.
But shout out to the Binding of Isaac, though. Binding of Isaac is a weird but interesting game.
Oh, I love it. It's such a good game. That and like Spelunky are like what I deem as the kings of indie. Like, they're really what like set my mind in indie games and roguelikes in general.
I love that both of Josh's choices heavily feature poop. Just heavily. So much poop in both those games. It's kind of ridiculous.
And they're weird.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit weird.
I mean, I'm a poop kind of guy. What can I say?
Yeah, like, I'm a big fan of toilet humor. No big deal.
I mean, yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny. My best friend got me a little sticker, like a magnet sticker thing that goes on your car, and it's a picture of a poop and a toilet paper, and it says best friends. And I can't tell you.
Is this your same friend that wants you to laugh so hard that you like poop your pants?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And what's funny about it is multiple occasions people have talked to me about that, and they're like, "Oh, I love your magnet. It's so cute." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, a white mug and coffee." And I'm always like, "Oh, yeah, sure."
You just go along with it. You're like, do I tell them it's poop? Would it be weird?
No, I usually tell them it's poop, and they get very grossed out.
So that actually brings up a question, not about poop, just to let you know, that I want to ask JJ. What is your definition of an indie game? What do you classify as an indie game?
Well, I take a little bit more of the traditional perspective on it. An indie game is really a game that's not funded by a big company, not like a big publisher, a big AAA like studio. You know, any game that's put out on whatever platform it doesn't necessarily have to be developed by a small team, but it's just not receiving big money to get made. That's my definition of an indie game. And again, that's like a loose interpretation from like much more better concrete definitions out there. Because again, I think it's a very gray area now these days, especially.
Yeah.
One of the things, the reason why I mentioned Ori and the Blind Forest for some people earlier, like when you were saying like it was possibly published by Microsoft, is because that's how I felt about that game for a while until I found out that was actually published by Microsoft Studios. So to me, that doesn't fall into being an indie game, even though it's not, you know, kind of like their other AAA games that they've put out. So that's really the best way to describe it, is that it's not receiving money to get made from a big company.
Yeah, odd enough, a lot of like amazing indie games that most people like think of as indie, if you actually look into them, they're like, wow, this was actually funded by like a large publisher, and it's kind of weird. Like, or in the Blind Forest with Microsoft, Cuphead with Microsoft. There's also, they're just like kind of an excessive amount that are they're given money to just develop this game, but in no way does it have to be like exclusive, or at least there are like exclusivity deals, which some people think the reason that Cuphead came to Switch is because they finally have that exclusivity deal, or also people think that it's because Microsoft and Nintendo are really working together. It's kind of weird.
I think that's really more part of it. I think another good example of that would be Minecraft or Fortnite or something like that, where it's more of a perception thing. Really, I think that a lot of people get a lot of these games confused, thinking that they are indie when they're really kind of not, is because of the way that they're presented, you know, when they're first brought out to the public like that. You know, especially when it's on like an E3 stage, you know, in the case of Ori and the Blind Forest or Ori and the Will of the Wisp. You know, now more than ever, you know, since people understand like that's not really an indie game. But the first time I saw that game, I didn't think of that as a Microsoft Studios game, because to me, Microsoft Studios was like Gears, was Halo, was all these other things that wasn't that.
Yeah, it's really weird. The definition of indie is like such an odd gray area that it seems like everybody kind of has a different idea of it. Because when you look up like what is the definition of an indie game, some people say it's like developed and published by the same people. But then you like look into it and you're like, okay, well, there's a bunch of games that are developed and published by the same like studio, but they aren't necessarily indie. Like, you could say Fortnite under that is technically an indie game because it's developed and published by Epic Studios, but it's different. It's kind of weird.
Epic is a big company. Epic is a big company with a lot of money. That at that point that becomes a third-party studio like that. It doesn't become an indie studio. Again, the vernacular and just like the specifics of it, I think, are very, very confusing for a lot of people, especially now these days, because there's such a gray area for it.
Yeah, which is especially weird when you get to games like Dauntless, which Dauntless is developed by an independent studio, but it was additionally funded by Epic Game Studio. So it's like, okay, like technically it's an independent studio and it's only like 100 people working on the game, but also like does that fit the definition of a traditional indie game? It's so weird. Indie games are probably the only genre that you couldn't necessarily like 100% every single person tell you what exactly it is. And it's also not self-explanatory for the most part. It's kind of weird. I guess roguelikes aren't exactly self-explanatory at all either. But that's about the end of this podcast. Thank everyone so much for listening to this. You guys can follow the podcast channel at IndiePod on Twitter. You can actually reach out to us there, just like JJ did to get on the podcast. Super easy, super fun. You can follow me at Hyde Legion. You can follow Josh at _George90. And where can people find you, JJ?
I am in a ridiculous amount of places. You could easily find me on Twitter at Jake James Lugo. That's the best place to kind of reach out to me. I'm also on YouTube, youtube.com/GamersWithGains channel. And also, of course, I'm on the Coalition, thecoalition.com, the Coalition with a K. Not the guys who developed Gears 5. Not those people. Let's get it straight, people.
If I'm being honest, that totally threw me off.
Yeah, like, well, that's the thing. Now that's a thing where people get confused because apparently they call it themselves the Coalition. We're going to have to sue for copyright infringement at some point. The point being, though, is that the Coalition is the place where I write all my reviews, all my editorials. I do a lot of other video content, podcast content. Some of my E3 content's going to go up there besides my own YouTube channel. Again, since we're going on to E3 time, I'm kind of dating the podcast a little bit, but you can find me in all those different places. I do a lot of stuff for the gaming industry. I'm out here doing things.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being on this episode. It was really nice to have somebody reach out and want to be on, and you obviously are welcome to come back anytime. This is the end of episode 33 of the Indie Incursion podcast and Indie Games podcast. Super easy to find us almost anywhere. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Laters.